Hey there, do you like talking about your favorite comic book and characters? Or a TV series you love to binge? Or how Goku from Dragon Ball Z was trash, but it was still your gateway anime? But you're also interested in talking about different social issues and current events, like representation, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, or racism? Well then, you're in luck. I've got a podcast where we dive into all of that. It's called Speak On It. I'm your host, Nisha, a millennial that's just trying to live my black and nerdy life while also staying informed. So every episode, a guest and I will dive into a discussion that can cover everything from anime to activism and speak on it. You can head over to iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever else these RSS feeds go to subscribe, listen, and stay tuned. Talk to you soon.
FX presents the Indu Podcast with your host, T. Sterling Watson.
Good morning, Indubians. I'm T. Sterling Watson.
And I'm Kortney.
And this is the Indu Podcast. Thank you for stopping by and pressing play. This is episode number 72. This is a do-over of the original episode 72, which featured the legendary Steph I Will. That episode is locked away. It is our first official lost episode, so I'm not sure when that'll be released. And I'm actually going to talk about why that episode is locked away right now. Partly because, and I'll even tell you what the title of that episode was, because I don't think I even told you. Did I? I don't think I did. That episode title was called Prep Con. So
very nice.
It was all about prepping for a con, and I actually did use the information that she gave me because she was our expert. I know some other people that have gone to cons, but we're not as close to them as we are to our sister Stephanie Williams. So she definitely will be back because there are some great things happening and on the way. But that one reason, there's actually two reasons why that episode won't be heard for a little while. One is because it's locked away behind a paywall. I was doing a trial for Ringer. They are good people, but I'm not sure I will continue with their service. But that's just me. It's just me. I still like them. They're good. The second reason is because of the main issue at hand, and that is Stephanie was telling us how to prepare for a con because we were going to FanCon.
Dun dun dun.
I know. I feel like that's a bad word to say now because
it's a very bad word to say now. It's
yes.
Not a feeling. It's lay truth.
It is. And I will also say this. I've actually started seeing it being tweeted around, but people are calling it con because people being conned. And that's actually,
or scam con.
Scam con is another one. We can't title this episode con because we've actually already had an episode called con when we discussed all the we do.
Wow.
It happened like a year ago, I think.
So we would be plagiarizing ourselves if
we would.
Okay.
We would.
And that's no in any iteration of the word. We don't do that.
Do not plagiarize. Do not even plagiarize yourself. Don't even think about it because it's not going down. So I'll try to come up with something more clever. I've been thinking about it for like the past week and I still haven't come up with anything. I have a few ideas, but we'll see what I come up with. And listeners, let me know what you think. If you hate it, you love it. I don't know. We'll get there. We'll get there. So FanCon. I know I keep saying it and just tightens the chest. Because there's still people who don't quite know the severity of what happened, but we'll back up. We'll explain what FanCon is or was. Yeah, we'll say was because it's
It is no more.
It is no more. Universal FanCon is the entire name, but that what it was supposed to be an all-inclusive convention for fans and nerds of all race, color, and creed, accessibility for those who are marginalized, friendly for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be for everyone, by everyone, and they had a Kickstarter program that started like 2 years ago, and I think their goal was 25,000, and they overachieved it. They got like 56,000. We were all excited. We knew a lot of the organizers, maybe not personally, but maybe we followed them. I was like, hey, these are people just like us. One such being Jamie Broadnax, another one being Robert Butler of the I almost said the wrong podcast again. The Black Geeks. And
Jamie Broadnax is of Black Girl Nerds,
correct,
which is kind of how a lot of us met, and it's a large enterprise at this point. And again, it's really I refer to it as the hub. It is not the only resource for nerds like us out there, and it is definitely not the only resource for Black women who identify as nerdy or geeky or what have you. But it is one of the more recognizable in terms of name and connections and things of that nature. And like I said, I've personally met just about everybody, not everybody, but a lot of nerdy folk through the brand of Black Girl Nerds. And so that's who Jamie, and she has been on the podcast before. So if you've been following us, or if you know the brand Black Girl Nerds, you know her that way.
Right. And I definitely want to address that, because she's been on the podcast before. I've, as far as I know, we left on good terms. I actually did start working for BGN for a little while, editing their podcasts. I can't do that anymore in good faith, knowing what I know about how she's been treating other people. And it's just really, really gone downhill. And we're just here today to kind of talk about what happened, because there's still people who don't know what happened or how it happened. I mean, we don't even know all the details.
Yeah.
And that's been a recurring theme, like what happened to the money? Because spoiler alert, because we didn't get there yet, but the $56,000 that was raised is somewhere lost and
in the void somewhere.
Somewhere. I mean, there's theories
or someone's pockets.
Someone may have run off with it. Some character named Ty Pham who keeps coming up. I have no idea. I mean, I'm almost even wondering, does this person exist? But let me try to stick to my notes here. So they had a Kickstarter. We've got, there's a board of organizers, of which a few people I've already named, but also affiliates of other podcasters that their sole purpose was just to advertise and help, spread the hype. And I feel it's still unfairly, like, they are being looked at, and people are asking them, like, why is this happening? And they're giving them a hard time. And I really wish that they wouldn't. It's not their fault. And a lot of them are, friends of ours. So, I feel for them, and I'm with you guys. I know you guys aren't involved. I have nothing against you, but so all of that's been building up for 2 years. They keep adding events that's gonna happen. Celebrity guests that will be there. There are so many tiers with the Kickstarter. Like, you can pick in like $35 and you get a weekend pass, and I think that's what we did. I mean, higher ones, and one person actually did the $5,000 tier, which I think was like the biggest one you can get. And
probably
like backstage access, and there's a whole bunch of things that you could get. It just didn't quite make sense. But then again, this was our first con, so I mean, how would we know? Nobody's kind of said anything to us like, hey, this is pretty big for a con. But
of course, all that information came out after FanCon, but
exactly,
so I have thoughts and feelings about that. But at the time, nobody publicly made their suspicions or doubts known.
Right.
That was all part of it. Not saying that they're a part of the problem, but people from the very beginning seem to have had doubts, and just there were things happening that gave some people pause and made them not want to invest or not really want to put that much stock into it because of the information that they had, or from the observations that they were able to make. And so yeah, we're starting to see all of that tea being poured out now in the aftermath, in the fallout.
Right. And yeah, it seems like everyone has something to say except for the people that actually
did it.
Right. And that's really what people want to hear, that truth. Like, what did you do with the money? And all of this started to come to light on the fateful day, which was Friday, April 20th, where I mean, that's when we found out. That's pretty much when everybody found out, because apparently some people knew months ago within the organization. Some people, like I believe maybe Jamie, had found out that funds weren't quite matching up correctly, and I guess had a meeting with the affiliates, and the affiliates, some of them started pulling out then, because not only were they pulling out, but guests were pulling out because they weren't receiving special like passes or things that they're used to getting from previous cons. Like you'd usually.
Well, and I think it was they weren't receiving the things that were promised to them. Not so much that they weren't getting what they were used to getting from previous experiences, but they had been promised specific things but weren't getting them. Like even some of the, I don't know about some of the vendors, but even some of the people who we wouldn't necessarily consider celebs or whatever, they hadn't received tickets, or they hadn't received their hotel reservations, or really important things that if you were promised something and it's, a month or two before the con and you haven't heard any word, or you're being told, yeah, okay, I'm so sorry you haven't received that, I'll get on that, and then you still don't hear anything, that's a red flag that something's not okay.
Correct.
And that maybe this isn't going to actually for real happen.
Right. And again, I kind of wish some people may have said things, but at the same time, maybe they didn't really want to deter like what could possibly happen. But hey, this is all a lesson learned, I think.
Yeah, I understand why they wouldn't. That's why I want to be very clear that I don't feel like the blame is on any of those people, because I feel like if they're going up against, the conglomerate of Black girl nerds, there is hell to pay, because a lot of the information that's actually, well, I don't want to say most of it, but for me, I know a lot of the information that's come out in the past week, because at the time of recording, it has only been just over a week. Right. At the time that they may have seen things happen, and a lot of the news that has come out, they're spilling some really, really hot tea. And for them to come out with something like that, I do believe in timing. There's a time and a place for stuff to come out, and had they tried to come out with this information before, they could have effectively, I guess, damaged. Because I'm thinking specifically of the writers, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's very possible that they could have damaged their own prospects and damaged things like that. And so, I get it. It's frustrating, because for that to be the only real information that's coming out, it just kind of puts everything in a whole different light, and it makes it all the more frustrating, because it's like, wow, all this is going on this whole time. I didn't know about it. Most folks didn't know about it, but it's like, why would people lie? What at this point, what motive, how is this going to benefit them if they lie? Also, the stories are consistent across the board for the most part. So, it's what's in it for them to fabricate something of this magnitude.
Correct. And like you said, we'll get into that a little bit later, because that is something that was a huge event. Each day it was like there was something that new, that broke, that was like, oh my God, how much more can we go? But still, how we found out on Friday is actually a few people got notices from their hotel, specifically, I think the Hyatt Regency, contacted them. It's like, yeah, your room, the event's been canceled. So your room's been canceled. You've got no place to go, blah, blah, blah. So they started screenshotting these messages and posting them on Twitter. So that spread like Twitter does. And
wildfire.
Wildfire.
Because I think you told me within an hour. You called me or texted me and told me within an hour, and then not that long after is when we got the official notice from FanCon, or at least if you were a Kickstarter backer, you got an email saying that this has been postponed. Yada yada yada.
Which even the email itself was problematic because all the Kickstarter backers were CC'd. They were not blind copied.
Right.
So a lot of people felt like they're violated. Basically, they're all that information's out there.
Well, it's that, and it also is for us, or for me. Can't speak for you, but for me, it was one of the many cracks in the facade, because it shows when you just put everybody in there. To me, it shows a lack of detail, a lack of, I don't even want to say concern, but definitely a lack of detail, which means they probably did this really, really quickly. And it's also pretty clear with the language that they use that it was done on the fly, and it was only a crisis management sort of thing. It just wasn't done very well. It wasn't good crisis management.
No.
Because, like I said, even the language in the email was just very vague. It was very, oh no, this just happened. We didn't have any, this happened out of nowhere. This is very unfortunate, yada, yada, yada. And so, yes.
It was not good management at all, because they said more information be coming later that day.
Which it did.
It did. But
Tell us when we got it.
We got it around, I think it was 12:15 the next day. I mean, I'm saying midnight, but still, it was, people were waiting and fuming. And I think I ended up taking to Twitter and just making fun of it out of frustration, really, because it was one of the ways I coped. And we were, shout out to Roberto, because he was there tagging along. I think Nisha might have joined in too, but we're just posting the downfall of FanCon, not realizing that we were predicting what actually was going to happen.
Right.
And
you really were. Y'all were on it. Some kind of sorcery, because y'all predicted it all right.
And that's actually how it ended. We ended talking about witches, and
of course you did. Talking with Berto.
yeah, that's true.
Shout out to Berto.
Shout out to Berto.
Who understands my love for witches.
He does. He truly does. But it really was a downward spiral, because that was just Friday, and so many people were so heated, and for so many legit righteous reasons, because there were vendors who were coming that, like, maybe this was also their first con, but it's also how they sell, and
it's their money, that's their livelihood.
Exactly. So for them to cancel a week before this was supposed to happen, that was like painful, because not only that, because you've got plane tickets, hotel rooms, a lot of these things non-refundable. And thankfully, again, the community of Twitter steps up and tells you how you're able to fight these or cancel these things, maybe get some money back, something. I mean, the community steps in more ways, and we'll get to that too. But
before we move on, to touch back on the really the terrible email that was sent out, it also brings to me the question of, when were the organizers and the founders truly intending to actually tell us that the event was postponed?
Right.
And also, another inception note, I'm going to be using the word canceled and postponed interchangeably, because the founders said that it was postponed, but we all know that FanCon is, like, the likelihood of FanCon actually coming to fruition is slim to none. It's closer to none, in my opinion. But anyways, there's reasons why they used postponed rather than canceled. It's probably a liability issue. They do not want to get sued, or rather, they don't want to add something another thing for the inevitable suing that will probably happen.
Correct.
But anywho, when they sent out the email cancellation, they basically were taking the stance of, we tried to work this out with the hotel, and the hotel took something that we said or took our plans or the hotels caught wind of our plans, whatever those were, and decided to take action. And so they were placing the blame entirely on the hotel. Well, that seemed fishy, right? So that seemed really fishy. But then, of course, investigative Twitter comes out and is like, yeah, under no circumstances is a hotel just going to cancel reservations, and they're just going to not allow folks to reserve rooms under the FanCon like block or name or whatever.
Right.
That doesn't just happen. It has to happen with good reason and legit reason. We find out that it's probably, we speculate that it's probably because the final bill or the final funds to like reserve the space was not paid.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, a hotel doing that that's not out of bounds. If a contract is signed, the contract will clearly state when funds are needing to be paid, how much the funds are, all of that. That's going to be clearly outlined within the contract. And so if someone goes and signs that contract, they're agreeing that the hotel is going to do its part by, keeping those rooms ready or making those rooms available. And then you, the client, are going to sign that with the notion that you are going to meet your end of the bargain. If one of you fails, it's not going to be the hotel, but if one of you fails, the other party has the absolute right to terminate the contract. And that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Why would a hotel, what's in it for a mainstream hotel in downtown Baltimore? What good is it for them to cancel for no reason?
Correct.
They have everything to lose, though, if they hold up their end of the contract when the other party is in breach of it. Mm-hmm. That's losing money. That's bad business. So this is not confirmed, but from those who have worked at large events or who know and understand the hotel business better than most of us out there, that's as good of a argument or valid point as any at this point. We're not hearing anything from the founders. And honestly, there's not a good reason. I truly don't believe there's a good reason for a hotel to just cancel like that. Right. Unless you're in breach of contract, which means you did not pay.
Mm-hmm. And we actually try to think of logical possible reasons other than what really happened. Probably it was like, well, maybe there was a fire at the event, or maybe somebody died, and we had that
before. Yeah, we were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. This is before the other happenings happened, because we just knew that surely our the organizers of this event would not have dropped the ball in this magnitude, surely.
Right.
If anything, they would do something like downsize, or they would do something to make this event happen.
Right.
But to postpone or to cancel a week before, something catastrophic had to have happened, right? Like
death in the family, or
deaths, or one of them died. Who knows? It had to have been huge. Did the building explode? I don't know. So to hear people being even more logical and saying that the hotel just didn't receive their funds, I was like, oh, that would suck. But no, let's just wait and see what they have to say, because hopefully it's a better reason than that, because that's a stupid reason. That's just stupid.
It truly is. And we waited hours because people kept checking. I'm pretty sure refresh buttons were being worn out, but sure enough, around, I think it was like 12:15, they came out with the FAQs, the now infamous frequently asked questions, and which actually changed maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't know how many times it changed, but the wording kept changing. and people kept highlighting certain parts. Like backing up a little bit, one of the perks, since the Infinity War movie was pushed up a week, they decided that they were going to have a special screening for those people who have tickets already. So that was one of those things. Like, is the screening still happening? Or if you want to come to talk to us about what is happening, you can meet with us and then we can enjoy the movie together. Like, oh yeah, sure. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to come all the way to Baltimore just to watch this movie and yell at you guys. Yeah, so that was one out of many things. And the big kicker, though, the I guess I buried the lead a little bit. No refunds. Yeah, they weren't going to give any refunds. What they were going to do was honor your ticket the next FanCon event.
That's hilarious. Because really, that's I see why FanCon failed, because if you had this type of optimism throughout the entire process, despite the facts, bro, we can't help you. There's nothing we can do for that.
The building is on fire, but please come back. In the back we'll get a quick glass of water while the building's still on fire. It was not good. Okay. And not only did they postpone it, but like postponed indefinitely. Like they couldn't even give us a date. So
and honestly, when I read that, I was like, this sucks. But it was in the middle of just finding out everything. I was like, okay, they're obviously scrambling. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. You truly don't know. I get that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna let you have this one. But then the gnawing, aching feeling of, okay, if the hotels didn't do their job and, let everybody know that, hey, I mean, because they were even saying that I think the hotels were even saying that the event was canceled. If the hotels hadn't done their part, when were you going to tell us? That was the gnawing question. I think I kept asking you that too.
Yeah.
But, I kept posing the question, okay, well, when were they going to tell us? It's a week before. What are we going to do? You have put so many people, you have displaced people, in essence. You've messed with their money. You've for sure messed with their emotions. This is not okay. When were you, at the very least, because this is jumping a bit, but Jamie put out a statement that she, at a April 3rd meeting, was made aware of the full magnitude of the situation, that there was no money or whatever. At what point, to me, that's too late. April 3rd, that is too late. Right. But why wasn't anything done about it? Why wasn't anything said about it? Because at least it wouldn't have been as much of a shock. I think the shock would have still been there, but at least people would have had a little bit more time to kind of figure out which direction they wanted to go or how they were going to handle this, what they were going to do, because it wasn't a freaking week beforehand. It would have been, more like a month or just shy of a month. So I just keep going back to those practical questions of, okay, but when you did find out, you didn't do anything. Why? When you saw stuff was going south, any of them, months ago, January 1 of 2018, did you, if you hadn't met the goal, realistically, if you hadn't met the goal by January, approximately, 18 months, 19 months after the Kickstarter, or however long it was, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Long enough. Like, if you hadn't met your goal and you probably weren't anywhere near it, why wasn't something done at that point?
Right. Early enough where you could start to scale back if you were,
yes.
That's really all you needed to do.
That's all you had to do. And I say that because, we will talk about Comic-Con a little bit, but the event that they were able to pull off in a week.
Yeah.
Granted, I'll give it to FanCon that they set the stage. Like they because I know that a few of the celebrity guests that were there because of FanCon, and like that motion started because of FanCon. Okay, cool. And I'm sure there are some other parts where FanCon played a huge part in why things happened and all this kind of stuff. But still, they found a new spot.
Mm-hmm.
They had new vendors, I believe, come up. They had new talent, and they were able to still pull it off. I don't care how the origins began, where they came from. They were still able to pull it off in a week.
Yes, definitely.
So January of 2018, or well before, or I'm even going to say April 3rd. I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
Why was nothing done? Why was nothing said? What made you think that it was okay to continue without saying anything? That's common sense. Whether you know how to run a con or not, I don't know. That's just stupid.
Not even continue, but still amplifies. Like, hey, by the way, we got this coming. We're adding more guests and more
guests. Yes, on one of the organizers' Twitter profiles. Like, I think the last tweet, I think it was Robert's. The last tweet that I saw was, I don't know, maybe the 18th of FanCon, and I don't even think it was it didn't look to me like it was a like a scheduled tweet, because a scheduled tweet will go out whenever you set it for. This looked like an actual like organic tweet that he tweeted, and I'm like, how? Like, what? How? I don't get it.
I don't either. But speaking of Robert Butler, and I still haven't watched it. I don't think I want to or can. But the day of the fateful day, April 20th, he was being interviewed on a YouTube show or channel talking about FanCon and how great it will be. This is like a week again.
No, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I may have told you, but again, so much was happening.
Oh.
That but that's one of the recenter things I had found out, that there was a video that I think came out or even was shot that day.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, and they've all, like, everyone, I'll at least say just the organizers, they are the ones that were still promoting it. And I'm saying organizers, and I think we really only mean three people. It's Jamie, Robert, and then the other guy who I think is Big Baba Rob or something.
I don't know him.
Yeah, we follow each other,
random.
But that means nothing. But he's another person of the Black Geeks. So
is he 2/3 of the Black Geeks? Him and Rob, I guess.
Robert? I don't know how many are on the Black Geeks. I've never actually checked them out. I mean, I keep calling them a podcast, so I don't even know if they are a podcast or if they're just a group, a couple of guys. Yeah. I don't know, but whatever they are now, they're not really probably much of anything now. But they really did Jamie dirty the next couple days, because they have been absolutely silent, except for Robert. He does tweet some things, but then he deletes them because for whatever reason, I don't know. He wanted to do a live Periscope and I guess do some question and answering perhaps, but that didn't happen either. And I'm wondering at this point if lawyers kind of came involved, like, yeah, don't say anything. But the only person that was Jamie, because she, I think, sent out statements. I think she did a couple tweets, did a couple retweets, but nothing that was really helpful, because everyone just kind of kept saying, we don't know what happened to the money. We didn't touch that. We were volunteers, which
well, in Jamie's defense, she did not say that until a little bit after. She didn't claim to be a volunteer until after. So there we are.
Right. Yes. This is true. There's been a lot of contradicting things that she has said in her statement, in I think even the emails, and even when later on, this actually did happen during the weekend, where her article for The Root came out, and I think that came out just as I arrived in Baltimore. So people were kind of hot about that and some other issues with BGN, but again, we'll get there. But it's just a hot mess, and that's an understatement.
A burning hot mess.
Yes,
a burning hot mess.
It was rough. Where am I on my timeline here? Well, yeah, we can get into BGN because it was during the week of a con. We'll just put it that way. So the weekend had passed, which barely felt like a weekend because it was just tweet after anger, and eventually people starting to talk about Jamie and how her leadership skills or lack thereof have kind of always been there, but no one really talks about it because they're afraid of being blacklisted, which apparently she's done before to other creatives or other writers or people, who disagree with her.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of happened. And with that, a lot of the current or former writers kind of talked or just basically publicly resigned from being a contributor any further. And they kind of just told their story. Some of them, like myself, we didn't have any negative experiences with her, but we just couldn't continue to work there knowing it's as toxic as it is. Meanwhile, other writers are kind of concerned having maybe the BGN brand on them. Will other publishers want to work with them, knowing that it's part of the failed FanCon? So, I mean, it's very complicated and complex, and the fact that so many writers were also writing for free. So that's also just another kind of sting where, writing is a talent. It's an art. It's a skill, and it should be paid for. I didn't know that they weren't being paid for. And that's this kind of thing that comes out and when things like this happen. So I really do hope that they do continue to get work elsewhere that they get paid for. And, because it is a job. It is work. So that did happen. Eventually Jamie did step down from being the editor-in-chief. And someone was in the process of being replaced, or someone to take her place, which also happened on Thursday. And that's when the bylines for the articles and things that had been written started disappearing, started turning into guest blogger, and a few of them even turned into Jamie Broadnax. So
that
was that was not good.
And because apparently the new the new editor-in-chief, according to, well, I don't know how to say this diplomatically, but whoever she is, she said that she was doing something in WordPress, which the site is run through, and on the back end of WordPress, trying to do something and basically mass deleted everybody's bylines and changed them from their names to, like Sterling said, guest blogger, and then some of them to Jamie's actual name. So, and in the aftermath of all this, I think I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that's where some of these mistakes are happening. Is everything's blowing up, every man for himself. You got to save face some kind of way. And you have to do what you got to do quickly, because if not, you're going to get flamed even more for not acting quickly. I'll give them that. Okay. But the way that the new editor-in-chief decided to respond to everybody's,
complaints and
they're outraged because now first you do this terrible thing to the community and just completely mess up FanCon. And that's an understatement, as you know. But first you do this, but then you change people's bylines, but then you respond in such a way that invalidates and devalues everyone's opinions about it. And basically what she tweeted was, I'm new at this, so sorry, everybody calm down, I blame it on my ADHD, yada yada. Whatever she said, blaming it on ADHD, no. And telling everyone to calm down. When she if she is stupid enough to walk into a position and not know the surrounding issues to why the person, the previous editor-in-chief, is no longer there, you can't live under a rock. And if she truly is living under a rock and didn't do her due diligence to figure out, what happened to Jamie, which I honestly doubt. This is all in, what's the word? I know that she knows, but even if she had no knowledge, no previous knowledge, and could not read the room, did not know what was happening in this community, telling people, responding in such a way and telling them to calm down, just put more flames to the fire. I mean, it was gasoline on the fire. There's no, I can't imagine any other situation to where that would have been okay anyway. But then to respond so flippantly and so, that just was not, that was just not the right response. It was not okay. Still isn't okay.
Mm-mm.
Never is it okay to be in an argument with somebody and to tell them to calm down. Never. But then to come in like this brand new, because nobody really knows her. Not that I know. I don't
know either. So
I don't know if that counts for anything. But you're coming in talking big, and it just was bad. Just bad business all around. Just not good.
Ooh, I just had a thought. What if whoever this person was might be like a front for Jamie? Like it's still Jamie, but just another like name? I don't know.
That's
Probably
a lot
not.
of work.
That is a lot of work.
That's a whole lot of work.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Jamie wasn't planning for this downfall to happen. So it's
really
just,
not.
Man. But yeah, that is something that whew, let me go back to my list here. Because that happened Thursday, but let me back up a little bit, because a few more people on the board, or I'm calling it the board, but the organization, Ty Pham, I had mentioned that earlier. That is someone who works on the finance side of FanCon, but has also been linked to previous cons and their failures, like cons that fizzled out, similar to this, but maybe not as huge. Like, then again, I don't know, because the last one was PrideCon, and I don't know if that happened last year or the year before. I don't know what year that was. That was in California.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I think, DashCon. I don't know if he was involved in that one, but I do hear that brought up.
No, I don't think he was involved in DashCon. So DashCon was, I think that was back in 2014. But that was a conference that basically started with Tumblr, Tumblr followers. And so a few of the more popular Tumblr users decided to do the con. They actually were going to call it TumblrCon, but because it wasn't officially Tumblr sponsored, like obviously there's copyright infringement with that. So they decided to call it DashCon, which refers to, a user looking at their dashboard on Tumblr. So it was an eerily similar situation where, some, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed fans who had zero experience decided to get together, put on this massive con. They were in I believe, well, I'm not sure that they were in a convention center, but they were in a hotel. But as you know, or as you probably can surmise, they had several different conference rooms, like the large rooms and things like that. Long story short, it happened. But I know that during the con, they actually raised like $17,000 in an hour. Because now that sounds kind of amazing, but it's very weird and scary and disturbing, because they did this while the con was happening. So there's literally people in the room, like this hall. The organizers are on stage basically begging for their lives, not their lives, but they're saying, something happened with the hotel where they thought they had it situated to where they would pay something up front for the con to happen, and then they would pay the rest of it like the next day or something like that. But they were under the impression they would pay it in installments, but still be under, good terms on their contract. Well, the hotel's like, no, that's not how it works. We're kicking you out if we don't get this by such and such, time today.
Mm.
So the organizers were literally on stage begging people to pay, help them come up with that. And they did.
Wow.
I don't know that anybody got how they did it. I truly because there was a bunch of folks in the hall, but how they managed to raise that much money is impressive, yes, but how in the world did they do that? And I doubt that any of those people received their monies back because they were literally passing around bags and passing around hats and stuff for people to put their money in there. Yeah, but I mean they met it so the rest of the con happened. It was a pretty flimsy, it was I'm not going to go into any more details
Mm.
about it, but it was a very flimsy attempt, but it did happen. it
Wow.
it it actually happened. FanCon, I don't know how much money DashCon raised, but FanCon raised some money, but didn't we don't know what happened to it. Nothing. We never went to the Baltimore Convention Center.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean,
so
we
yeah,
walked across it, or like, but we never been inside for any con related thing at all. We just looked at it from, they even had signs, which I
mhm,
think they took down before we got there. But
mhm,
um, yeah, the other one being PrideCon, which is the one that Thai Fam was. Yeah, I just want to say this needs to be a documentary to talk about DashCon, to talk about FanCon, and just the failures of them. But
mhm.
because this is huge. But Thai Fam, I guess works in finance. I mean, again, investigative Twitter was on top of it, did
Yeah.
their research and dug up who this guy was, and not only that, but there were questionnaires sent out to I think it was vendors or other guests that were coming to FanCon, and
Mhm.
finding that these were the same questionnaires used for PrideCon, which was
Oh,
also
interesting.
something that Thai Fam had been involved with. So there,
Wow.
yeah, there's just too many links.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then people were like, you really need to vet who you're going to have on your team to, organize something like this.
Right.
As if he says that he worked on cons, but you've realized that these cons had fallen through, and
And
it's
for the same reasons,
right.
I believe. I think it was because of money. Like he was the finance person.
Hmm.
You cannot put on a con of any size without money. And
Correct.
if the finance person, the person in charge of your finances, cannot handle finances, then that doesn't seem like a good fit.
Correct. On top of that, also on the board, apparently, and I did not write down this person's name, but let's see, robots, or a bot was hired for this board, because they did research looking up somebody's name,
Mm-hmm.
and they really could not find it. uh it's crazy. I'm gonna jump in here now and say that some of these investigators, they're actually like writers who do the thing. So go
Yeah.
check out women write about comics.com. That is the first article I read. It's very thorough. They do update anything that they find new, so I will make sure I post a link in the show notes so you can read that. And of course, our friend and recent guest on the podcast, and I actually got to meet her in real life at Y Comic Con, Clarkisha Kent. So she really has gone after and talked to everyone from guests to vendors,
Mm-hmm.
other artists that were going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
and just did her research, digging into every facet of what FanCon crumbled up to be, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
find out the truth.
Yep.
So
Doing the
I mean,
work.
so much work. And I don't even say, I mean, yes, definitely give her kudos, but also give her coins,
Yeah.
because she has earned it.
Yeah.
Um, and she's doing a mighty work, and she continues to do great work.
Mm-hmm.
So she is definitely
And she's just a great creative. Like, check her out. She's an awesome creative. She's doing mighty work for us in this whole situation. But just check her out and check out like what she is doing as an artist. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
no, not at all, not at all. She's definitely good people.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to check here one of the more recent things, because yes, it's like every day there's still news, and we're recording on the 5th. So this is like we said, it's already been like a week and a half. I'm not the 5th. I'm sorry. It's the 1st.
The first.
I'm looking at
May
the 5. That's May the 1st. And this morning I read that FanCon in general is in the hole for $650,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and now knowing much more than I knew before, that does make sense. If you're going to try to rent a convention center, how much money it costs to rent like square footage, just other expenses, like so many expenses to like maybe get the guests or even the lighting or sound or whatever, and all that stuff is possibly already paid for, but just or that's where they're in debt, or maybe they put it in credit. I don't know, but that's money that they now owe.
Yeah.
To start. So
now, are you saying, because I saw that too, now are you saying though that it's still owed, or that's how much it would have taken to like actually put everything on as planned?
I'm just taking it that's money that's owed. Like,
okay,
maybe they may have put it like on credit, or maybe they actually did come out of their own pocket. I don't know. I doubt it, but I mean, I really don't know. So we're back to speculating until more truth comes out about that. Besides that, bridges definitely have been burned, and it's burned now to the point where legal matters are an issue. I think we even talked about before about people possibly suing the con, but because of relationships with people, going back to Jamie and all the things that she has going on for her, one of the things was the Misty Knights on I keep messing up the stupid title, even when the show was going well. Misty Knight's Uninformed Afro with our great friend Stephanie Williams. What was going to happen with that? So that was something that was also happening in the background, but we find out today that Jamie is basically trying to take everything of that from Stephanie, even sending her a cease and desist letter, which I'm actually hearing was poorly written, but I've never actually seen one in person. So
it wasn't great. I mean, it was, I don't know. But even if it was fake, who cares? The fact that is the step that Jamie decided to take, it's super, like, I don't know. So you're my friend, right, Sterling?
Right.
So, like, I don't know the relationship that Jamie and Stephanie had. But it just seems like even on a professional level, that was not the right move. Like it just seems really, really, I don't know. Petty is probably not the right word, but that's the word that comes to mind. And it just seems so unnecessary. So I don't know the relationship that Steph and Jamie had. That is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is these shenanigans are still happening. People are still trying to, Jamie is seemingly still trying to tear people down. Which is it's so hard to say. Even now, it's hard to say that because even with all the stories and all the experiences that the writers have been informing us of, and they've just been telling their experiences, it's it's hard to really admit that somebody that you respected and looked up to is pretty problematic and doesn't seem to be for the culture like she has forever portrayed herself to be. It just doesn't seem, it's just completely different than what I knew.
Right.
And so that's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. And I think we had both kind of said to each other, like, we really didn't want to believe like this to be true. Like this, not Jamie, not of all people, but like it's I guess like maybe a facade that had been put up. something about true colors, and there are people, and these are like the stories we're talking about, that have known her longer than we have.
Yeah, and who
So
have a much different relationship. So what's in it for them to lie?
right,
Why, with their stories
corroborating.
corroborating and being very consistent across the board. And then
And
to see how Jamie's reacting and how she's responding to all of this, it is adding up.
it is.
And that's hard. That is hard to see happen.
And I actually did take the time. I read like quite a few threads of people, telling their truth, and I could relate to some of them because I've been in a position where I had to work with someone. I mean, I didn't really have to, but still, I worked with someone who I didn't realize was problematic until I think I actually did realize, like, oh wait, yeah, you actually are the problem, because and I won't give up too information here, and I did not want to jump on the bandwagon of Jamie and just saying trash, because I don't have any trash to say about her, but I mean, I am affected. I am upset by the way that she's been treating Stephanie. So that part I'm not a fan of at all. But it's not my character to tear anybody down.
Yeah, and that's happening in real time. It's not like we don't have the evidence. Yes, because it is one thing to hear what people are saying, and yes, we should believe them. Just like, I mean, I keep thinking of the women of the Me Too movement.
Correct.
We should believe them. But in this case, we actually see the evidence of it happening in real time.
Right.
We see it happening, and it's just so. And this is not even, we don't even have all the details, but the fact that there is a cease and desist letter out there, it's just, that is enough. That's enough to say, wow, okay, this is who this person is. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And
Thanks for proving yourself.
When we say real time, I'm saying literally like 3 hours before we began recording. I think that's when like I read it. So like I'm still upset. Like I'm hurt. I feel for Stephanie. Because
it hurts.
She's my friend. Stephanie, I'm talking about. She's my friend. So
yeah.
So yeah, we're here. We're with her, definitely. So
I'm wondering how. Anyway, I'll keep that one. But
I mean, she's already off doing great things, which we will talk about in the next episode. Because she's definitely very, very talented. She's, I mean, she really is the heart of that podcast, and she's already on track to be doing much greater, better things. And I cannot wait for that success to start coming in, because I feel like I don't know if she would be the type to be vengeful, but there's nothing greater than like that accomplishment of doing something better than
what she just got done with.
Yeah. So Steph is on her way. I'm so proud of her.
She is. She's awesome.
But let me see here. But yeah, I think that is all of the. I mean, there's still a lot more, I'm sure, but I just wanted to recap as much as we knew, what we experienced, how we were feeling, and it was a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, something I'm not used to, and it actually started to manifest itself in a like an ache that actually kind of moved around my body, mostly around my back and my neck. But I named it Falcon because it could be, I mean, if you look at the letters, you can just switch the L for N and then it'll be FanCon, or you could throw in an I and it could be FailCon. So, you can play around with that. So, but Falcon hasn't been bothering me lately, so that's good. And I really hadn't thought about it that much during the weekend, which again, we'll get to. But it's been a whirlwind and a roller coaster of a week for sure.
Yeah.
Now, were you feeling like the same? Well, I'm not saying that you had psychosomatic like stress aches like I did, but what were you feeling?
I seem to always have psychosomatic stress aches, but yes, due to this situation, I didn't physically, I don't think it physically manifested. I mean, not like that, but it definitely mentally just did a number. It really did. It was painful, still is, it is. Painful, hurtful, just completely shattering, you know. I don't want to be dramatic, but just really shattering my whole perception and my whole I mean, because this is happening to a community that I love, seeing people's hearing their stories come out about different things, seeing the people hurt and displaced because of FanCon, and just that really did affect me. Still affects me. It hurts me to know that we'll never be the same. It hurts me to know that BGN will never be the same. I think that after this weekend, after Y Comic Con being so successful, I feel like there's hope for us, and that we will, because you know, our community isn't just one person; it's the whole community. It's going to continue. It's going to thrive. We're going to continue being great and doing great things. But the road to get there, or the road to, I guess, getting back on track, or whatever you want to call it, you know, this has just changed a lot of things. It's changed a lot of things, and that change is always hard, right? So, you
It
know,
does.
it sucks, but it sucks, but I do have hope, and I do believe that we're gonna be okay, and that great things are still going to happen and are happening. I mean, they are. So
They are, and I completely agree with you. Especially the hope. The hope is alive for our community. Like it will continue to thrive. Like after this, like the dust. I feel like the dust is settling, even though there's still some things that are kicking it back up. But the community has always been there. It's just like you said earlier, it was under a hub, but you know, we know who we are, and it's just still some, I guess, some trust has been lost, and we're still trying to gain that back. But we will definitely get there, and we're not going anywhere. So we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. And in fact, we're gonna, I'm not gonna say we're gonna go back to our usual show, because we're gonna do another episode. I'm tripping over my words, and it'll be much more happy and positive. But I did just want to just talk about it, because it is an elephant in a room, in our room, and I can't not talk about it, because that would just seem odd. Like, and there's nothing wrong. We're fine. This is fine. I'm the dog in the room that's on fire, just drinking my tea.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this episode. Oh, I can leave on a good note, because Kortney, did you know that we have a sponsor? Like, we're actually being sponsored?
No.
Yes, we have a legit sponsor, My Fluffy Puffs. You can go to myfluffypuffs.com. Hold on, I've got it written down here. Yes, My Fluffy Puffs. Fluffy Puffs. It's almost a tongue twister. myfluffypuffs.com for afros and curls, an inclusive brand for natural and relaxed hair. Got curl and twist, moisturize, wash, definition, twist, frosting for any hair texture. So do check them out. I actually just got my my first twist frosting with biotin. My sister looked at it and checked it out, and she's like, "Oh, biotin, that's good. You need that for your hair." I'm like, "Thank you." I don't know if any of my other products have biotin in them, but at least this one does. And this is a Black-owned business.
Hey.
Again, go check out the website. You can see videos of other people that have used it. And I don't actually know the business owner's name, but she did kind of reach out through Twitter, just, you know, and I'm glad for that. So I'm glad for her, or the company's, I don't want to use endorsement. That's not the word I want. Sponsorship. And they're donating. And of course, you, dear listener, dear Indubian, you can also donate too. I'm not really asking if you too, you can just do it if you want to, just $1, and you actually get access to movie reviews and just other little tidbits of things that I do. I don't really have much on the other tiers yet, but I will be doing some videos. But again, I just want to thank myfluffypuffs.com and to go, support and I guess get some again, I'm telling you, go to the website. They have a whole lot of items, a lot of products for you to use. I will be going there and shopping for more stuff like hair soap. They don't call it shampoo. I think it's actual bar soap.
Nice.
I think, but they actually did sell out of a lot of stuff, which is a good thing because that means people are buying, and I think they're coming out with some brand new stuff. So do definitely check them out. myfluffypuffs.com. You can also follow them on Twitter. I did not write down their handle, but they're on Twitter. Trust me, they're there and they're pretty active. So that is myfluffypuffs.com. Other than that, I think that does it for this episode. And I'm not sure if I will stagger episode 73. So I don't know if you're going to wait a couple days or a couple hours to get that one. But we're going to close this episode out like we normally do. So where can people find you, Kortney?
So folks can find me on the Twitters at IMKHinton. Or you can also find Verve House Collective, which is my special thing, my special baby. It's a hub or just a really awesome resource for creatives, entrepreneurs, for audacious creatives, entrepreneurs, and intention seekers. So yeah, either place, find me, look me up.
I'll definitely do that. And you can follow me. Well, yeah, I already do that, honestly. But you can follow me on all things Indube. Go to indube.com to find the Patreon, which I mentioned a little earlier, to subscribe for more perks. But definitely go to my TeePublic store. Again, there are some new designs. I actually wore them this past weekend, even though two of the 3 days I actually had a hoodie on, so you really couldn't see them. But hey, actually some people did still see it. Hey, we recognize that shirt. So like, yes. Anyway, go get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more. Please rate, comment, and share the pod on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you so much for supporting, listening, stopping by, and pressing play. Tell someone you value that you value them, and live for the folks you love. I've been your benevolent host, T. Sterling Watson, and remember, if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off. The Indube Podcast is recorded in a studio somewhere on planet Earth. The Indube Podcast is part of the Indube Network. And if you'd like to get in contact with the Indube Podcast, please email indubepod@gmail.com. That is indubepod@gmail.com. You can find the Indube Podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, and of course, Podbean, or wherever podcasts may be procured. If you'd like to find out more information, please visit indube.com, where you can find our store, the blog, and of course, our Patreon, if you'd like to support and donate and find more perks and fun things to listen to and watch. For Chief, DJ Joe Daddy, Bilford, this is T. Sterling Watson, signing off. Thank you so much for listening. Use your words, Chief. Good boy. This has been another 3SFX production.